67 Camaro SS. This is just the insurance job. It looks probably a lot better than it really is because it's not a great restoration, and the insurance company isn't paying much. It came here with the fender off along with the apron, and when it was off I got to metalwork the fender up front because you don't have access to the back side right here. The apron was kind of hammered, so I had to straighten that up. And when you put this fender on with the apron on there, you want to make sure this is loose. So we got that loose. And now I'm just fitting up the fender, and I'm gonna throw the hood on. Watch the gap on top. It's nice right now, but watch this when I lower it. Just on top. See that? All pinched right there. So jack it up a little bit. Right there. And then I'll tighten this bolt and the one right here that I have to open up the door for, and tighten that one. The body lines don't meet up, so I'm going to have to put a shim or two right there. Okay, so now it's tightened up and the body lines match, so I know I got it shimmed right. So we got the hood lined up to the cowl, and the radiator support shifted, so we're loosening up all the mounting bolts to the support, and we're going to shift it over, and then that'll give us good gap to the hood. Ready? Yep. So we got the gaps a lot better, but now there's the issue of the corner of the hood being too high to the cowl and too high to the fender. So that means I'm going to loosen up the hinges going to the apron, and I'm going to rock them back like that by loosening them up and pushing up on the hood, and then tightening it while I'm pushing up on the hood, and that'll bring this low. So we rotated back the hinges, and as you can see, it's still a little high. Glad we left the welder out anyway. So we got the header panel on, or shall I say Jess got the header panel on. It fits pretty good. It's not a show car, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But, and it's on there. One of the things we had to do is we had to bend this bracket to close it up to bring the body line to the hood closer. And then obviously push the hood forward to even up the gap. We also had to elongate these holes to get it even with the edge of the fender and the top of the fenders. And right here we had to bust the spot weld and fold this flange in more so it would be flush with the fender up top. So I got the monkey on the stick going to the frame rail through that brace right onto the bottom of the fender. And as you can see, it's a little further out than it should be, but that's good because you always want to over pull, because when you release the tension it'll go back. Just on a real quick mock-up, when I have it lined up, I can see that the holes in the lower valance need to be bigger. So I'll enlarge those holes. Actually, you need to elongate the holes, not enlarge them. If you enlarge them, you better break out some big washers. Also, on this side, lines up good here. But right here it's sticking out, and it's probably from all that pushing that we did, because it's bolted to this right underneath there, and this is in still, and this is up. So I got a plan for that. So it's lined up pretty well, but the very tip of this fender needs to be grinded down, and then it'll be flush right here, and then it'll be good to go, and then I can put everything else in. And now mock-up is complete. Everything looks pretty good. Straight. The only thing we don't have is the bezel trim, headlight bezel trim for this side, but we measured it and it should fit pretty good. And now it's time to take it apart and finish up the mud work right there and on the hood. Got the lower spoil lined up, so now all we got to do is use my punch. can.
The bolts already there. That's just beautiful.
If you notice, I was walking like this,
What's the job?
but also I was walking like this.
I thought he had a car.
And this keeps it true in multiple angles. Because when you're blocking it like this, it's keeping it true going this way. But since this is relatively straight, I could have my block situated like this, and this keeps it true going this way. So when you have it like this and like that, you're keeping it true in both angles. What's not shown in this video, and what we like to do when the car comes in, is wash the car. We don't use any car wash soap. We use dishwash soap, preferably Dawn. This kind of soap cuts through any grease, any polish, any wax that may be on the car, and those at that point are considered contaminants for the paint job. And this is especially important for spot jobs. When you strip a car, you may grind the contaminant into the metal, but you're not going to really have so much a reaction with the primers as you would with the base coat and clear coat. So when you're doing spot jobs, very important to wash your car with dishwash soap. Now this area on the fender right behind the tire can be especially troubling for spot jobs. The tires tend to kick up all the grime and all the contaminants right into that area. So when you're washing the car with Dawn or dishwash soap, pay close attention to that area. Because if you don't, you'll have adhesion problems. after I'm done prepping, what I like to do is I like to go around the whole car with the air gun in one hand and a rag in the other. Blowing by wiping will get out more dust than just blowing alone. And at that point, take a step back and I sight down the vehicle and look for any shiny spots. If there's shiny spots in the clear zone, I scuff all the shiny spots out with the gray scuff pad. If it's in the base zone, then I use a red scuff pad. And I do this till all the shine is gone, and it really helps for a better adhesion. So I feathered out the rock chips, and at first I wanted to save some primer and just sand over the rock chips and fill them with a razor blade. But after I sanded on them, I took high pressure air and blew right at the scab, and it started peeling. So at that point, I knew I had to feather it back. And this is kind of extreme, but it doesn't need any filler. I could have feathered it out a little less and jammed some filler in there, but this doesn't need filler, and this is actually the correct way, but I probably went a little overboard. And because now he has to prime all that and then prime right here. But that's how you're supposed to do it. When you're feathering out an old car like this, you don't want to do it with the DA. You want to do it by hand, mainly because of multiple paint layers that could be underneath. And you don't want to create dips. Fortunately, this one only had one paint job, so it was stripped and repainted. But in the body shop, you can't possibly paint a car and have it last as long and be as thin as it would be when painted at the factory, which makes it easier to featherage, where you could use a DA. As I often do with your newer cars, I could feather a rock chip out in a second with the DA and it'll be fine, but not with these old schools. With this car, I started my feathering of the rock chip with the DA. Then I went to a block with 180, and then I used 240. And when you use 240, you get a more accurate hand feel because of finer grip. And at that point, I realized, hey, this is flat. It's not going to give me any trouble when it's primed and blocked, and we're good to go. While my sandpaper is soaking up the water, let's go through what I'm about to do. I'm first going to denib it with 2000 on a paint stick. And then I'm going to wet sand with 2000 with my block cocked sideways like this, going from front to back or back to front. And this creates an illusion in case there's any sand scratches left over when it's all buffed out and polished. You won't be able to see it. But if I sand like this or at an angle, you will be able to see it. But when you're going along with the body lines, it's less noticeable. So after the 2000, I'm going to hit it again with 3000 on a Trizac and then buff it out. When I'm denibbing, I don't have to take the entire nib out. I can take most of it out and save the rest for when I'm wet sanding the orange peel out. You can have a little nib in there and break it loose, and it'll be creating a deep scratch into your clear coat. So keep the music low when you're wet sand clear. Now for the real sanding. And I want to use the palm of my hand, not my fingers. And have my block cocked to the side, sideways. You have your block straight like this, these edges catch. and leave a deep scratch. So I always want it off to the side. I put tape on this body line because it's sharp. When I go to buff, I'm going to roll my edge off that body line, but I don't want any sand scratches there. So this keeps me in the safe zone. You don't want to do all this work and burn through. That'll be lame. There's a bit of a problem. After we wet sanded it all out, we took it out of the booth to blow it off, clean it off, and we realized that the color didn't match. I think it was the clear coat. But anyways, now we're painting the whole thing. So let's start masking. So I'm done with the deck lid. As you can see, I used easy edge, and I'll lay down the easy edge first, then 1/2 inch tape, then 6 inch, not 6 inch tape, 6 inch paper, and then I laid this green paper over that. So, turned out pretty good. I don't think there's going to be an issue with any overspray there. Here I started on the door jamb. I got my easy edge running up, then my 1/2 inch tape, and then 6 inch to take care of the overspray into the jamb. Right here I got 6 inch paper, and then I left about 1/4 inch right there for any overspray that may hit it. And then down there, since we're not painting the rocker, I backmasked it, so when I close this door, see I got tape right there, you just lay one strip all the way across and take care of that.
This is a spot repair of a rock chip that we previously ignored that was on the clear panel. But now that we're painting the whole car, we'll repair it.
Okay, the Camaro got painted again, but I already showed you wet sanding, so nothing to see here.
The whole point of the light is to sight down it after you have taken a microfiber and wiped off all the compound, and the goal is to have very few swirl marks before I go to a foam pad. As the compound starts to dry, I apply less and less pressure to the buffer until I'm lifting up the buffer, barely touching the panel.
This is a great example why I compound with the wool pad and the foam pad. As you can see, not many swirls. But when you look at the fender, a lot more swirls. The fender was only compounded with wool.